feel there is enough work that warrants them to sit. And then during the sittings, offenders or lawyers for offenders, they have no right to appear before the board. But the board, if they feel necessary, they can invite offenders to come in.
Good morning once again. This is the second day of the Zimbabwe Prisons and Correctional Service Parole and Reintegration Conference happening here at Rainbow Towers, right here in the capital city, Harare. The conference was officially opened yesterday by Honorable Vice President of the Republic of Zimbabwe, Dr. CGDN Chiwenga, setting the tone for meaningful regional dialogue. Now, what we know up to now is that 10 countries are being represented. These are delegates coming in from 10 countries within the SADC region, coming in to share their ideas on the parole system. And today, alongside these deliberations, part of the delegation has traveled to Konmara Open Correctional Facility near Kwekwe and also Wawa Young Offenders. And as you would appreciate, Wawa Young Offenders is the only institution that houses young offenders. And Konmara Open Prison near Kwekwe is the only open correctional facility that houses male offenders. And as you would also appreciate, we have another facility, a correctional open facility for females in Marondera, under the patronage of Her Excellency, the First Lady, Dr. Auxilia Mnangagwa. So the delegation just want to appreciate part of the rehabilitation processes that happens in these facilities. And there is an adage that says, something for us without us is not for us. So today we shall be talking to some offenders who are within our correctional facilities to share with us what they think about the parole system. And like yesterday, I'm not moving alone. I have my colleagues here, Superintendent Solomon Mutamba. What are we expecting today?
Mangwanana akanaka muri yeZimbabwe. Nhasi tiri muzuva rechipiri re parole conference yedu yatiri kuitira paRainbow Towers, Jacaranda Rooms. Parole conference iyi pane zvakawanda zvakakurukurwa nezuro, tichinzwa nhaurwa dzimwe dzaishewa neveSADC vanoita zveresearch vaitaura pamusoro peparole iyoyi nemabenefits ayo. Nhasi tiri muzuva zvakare rechipiri reparole iyoyi, mushure mekunge yazarurwa zviri pamutemo naVice President veRepublic of Zimbabwe, General Dr. CGDN Chiwenga, ndo vakaizarura zviri pamutemo nezuro, vachitaura kuti donzvo riri kuitwa neZPCS rekuti vaparure nyaya yeparole iyi ndiro donzvo rimwe chete zvakare rakatariswa nehurumende yeZimbabwe inotungamirirwa naHis Excellency the President of the Republic of Zimbabwe, Comrade Dr. Emerson Dambudzo Mnangagwa. Takatarisana nechirongwa che2030 kuti majere ange achivandudzika sekuvandudzwa kwaari kuitwa. Pazuva ranhasi uyu tine mamwe madelegates ari kukurukura ari mukati umu, asi vatungamiriri vema prisons vakauya muno muZimbabwe iye zvino vamboenda kuti vambonoona dzimwe nzvimbo dzakagadzirwa neprisons, majeri rakafanana neKonmara Open prison riri pakati peGweru neKwekwe, iro rine vasungwa vanotopiwa mukana wekuti vaende kudzimba dzavo vachinoonana nemhuri dzavo kwesvondo, vachidzoka zvakare kujere kuzogara kujere ikoko. Asi inzvimbo yakasununguka ine mabenefits akawanda uyezve inobatsira pareintegration yevasungwa zvakanyanyisa. Takatarisana nenyaya dzereintegration yatava kunyanya kusimbisa iye zvino tabva kuita rehabilitate vasungwa vedu. MuZimbabwe muno tine maopen prisons mairi, imwe iri kumarondera zvakare inonzi Marondera Female Open Institution, iyo yakazarurwa zviri pamutemo muna 2021 na Excellency Dr. Auxilia Mnangagwa vanova ivo zvakare patroni ve-open institution iyoyi. Mitemo yacho yakangofanana, iro ndere madzimai uye riri kone marairi ndere varume. Saka tichitarisa panyaya dze-open prison ndo rimwe remajere ekutanga kunyange muno muAfrica. Hakuna dzimwe nyika dzaita ma-open prisons emadzimai, kunyanya vakatishanyira muno muZimbabwe. Ma10 countries ese vakauya munomu vari kutaurawo kuti aiwa, toda kuti tione concept iyoyi kana donzvo irori rekuti majere anonzi ava open, nekuti kune dzimwe nyika hakusati kwava naizvozvo. Saka toda kungotenda hurumende yeZimbabwe nekuindawo pachidanho chepamusoro muna izvozvo. Takatarisana nenyaya dze-open prisons. Pazuva ranhasi rechipiri tiri kuenderera mberi zvakare kuchikurukurwa, tine nhaurwa dzekunzwa kubva kune dzimwe nyika dzakaita sana Botswana, vana Tanzania vachikurukura kuti kunyika dzavo parole vari kuifambisa sei. Uye pazuva ranhasi zvakare tichange tine ma-inmates vachange tichikurukura navo, nekuti chirongwa ichi kana tichichiita hatingangokurukuri tiri toga kuno, asi vatiri kuitira vacho vasiri kumboziva kuti zviri kufamba sei. Kunyange shoko rakasvika kwavari, asi tinenge tichida kunzwawo kuti pfungwa dzavo vari kutiwo chii, uye macontributions avo pamusoro pechinhu ichochi chinonzi parole and reintegration zvakambomira sei, tichienderana nekuona muono unobva kwavari pamwe chete nekuma-stakeholders edu nemaofficers zvakare, pamwe chete nenyika dzakatikomberedza dzemuno muAfrica wamapfumo.
Uhlelo lwe-Zimbabwe Prisons and Correctional Parole and Reintegration Conference. Izolo-ke sikhangela kade usizakala-ke izolo kuvule u-conference nale ivulwe-ke okusemthethweni umhlonishwa wethu u-Vice President Dr. CGDN Chiwenga evula indlela ukubana-ke ingxoxo zona lezi-ke ziphumelele ziqhubekele njalo phambili. Siqhubekela phambili ngohlelo nalelo sukulanga-ke lwesibili zanazela khona phana ukubana-ke silamazwe alithumi across i-SADC abuye-ke ukuzohlanganyela abona lo mhlangano. Abanye sebevele bona bephambili ngohlelo olwe-parole, amazwe njengabo South Africa, Botswana, Malawi akanye-ke leZambia bazabe baxoxa beqhubekela phambili bese ukuthi bona kibo kwelakibo bakuhambisa-ke akanjani ukubana-ke lathi nxa khona phana sesisungula lwalo mhlelo-ke le-parole sabe sesilomthetho ezabe zisebenza ngawo ukubana kwenze. Okwanamhlanje-ke esiqhubekela phambili ngohlelo nalelo elinye-ke iqula lama-delegates liphumile libhekise-ke ePhomara Open Prison eGweru, indawo lapho-ke okulejele abalibiza ngokuthi open prison okuhlala khona-ke amadoda selileminyaka aphosa ama-20 leminye aphezulu, lapho kuhlala khona obaba abanikwa khona amathuba okubana-ke bayaphuma besiya-ke ngekhaya bephenduke njalo ejele besenza imisebenzi etshiyeneyo. Kuyindlela njalo eye-rehabilitation kanye-ke kuhambisana-ke lale parole esifuna ukuyenza-ke amalangeni amalutshwane alandelayo. Bevela khona ngale Phomara bazadlula-ke eWawa Young Offenders, ijele eligcina abantwana abancane. Bebona njalo ukubana-ke thina ngapha kweleZimbabwe sikuyenza njani, funa-ke ngafundisa ukuhamba bekwenza-ke emazweni abo. Sikhuluma ngendaba zama-open prison khona phansi zananzela ukubana-ke iZimbabwe lilizwe lakuqala-ke kwele-Afrika elibe le-open prison eyabomama esemarondela ethungamelelwa-ke ngu-Her Excellency uMai Auxilia Mnangagwa. So maphumo ngamafitshane-ke i-conference iqhubekela phambili, ingxoxo ziqhubekela siya phambili khona phana, sabe sifunda okuningi, abalaleli sabe silazisa ukubana kabe thatha yikuphi okabe kuthatha indawo. Siyabonga.
Thank you very much, my sister Precious. So there you are, viewers. As you can see, our table is actually full of deliberations. So for these and more, stay tuned. Don't go away.
somebody is technologically offender understands the magnitude of harm that maybe they may have imposed on other individuals and their community. Are there any past offenses? What progress has been made by the offender in responding to correction and treatment? What programs did they participate in? All those, that information have to be included in the dossier, and their behavior in prison. In case somebody breaches discipline, there would be a record to say, on this date, we found him with a mobile phone, which is contrary to good behavior in prison. In such a date, he was involved in a brawl, which is also contrary to good behavior. And then, of course, then there would be interventions that would have been put in place to try to assist him to become better. And then there will also be a report on their response to such interventions. And then this would be a therapy interventions. We also need the victim statement. I already alluded to earlier. And then there should be a release plan. What happens after we release you? We should have already managed your family. We should have already managed your community. We should have already, through the programs that we have engaged you in, be able to demonstrate to the board that you'll be a productive member of your community, or you'll be able to fend for yourself. Because once you are released on parole, we supervise you, of course, but you are free to live in your community. We just check on you to ensure that you are at a place where you undertook to stay. If you are to leave, I think it's similar to the conditions in Namibia. If you are to leave the place where you undertook to stay, then you have to contact us, and we have to give you authority to leave that place. Otherwise, if you are of good behavior and abide with conditions, then you will stay in the community until the expiry of your sentence. And then these are just reasons that sometimes the board will share with us for not recommending offenders to the board. I mean, for release. Sometimes they would say, no, there were insufficient grounds to prove that this person would not reoffend. And then they would, through the program officer's report, maybe pick something that points to the fact that they are still of a negative attitude towards correction. And then, of course, when the victim is not comfortable, those are issues that they look at and say, but we need to work more on dealing with the restoration of the victim before this person can get out. And then if you are a frequent offender against discipline in prison, the likelihood is that they would want to look at you over time before they recommend you. So this one, we have already talked about it. If there are disagreements as to whether to recommend or not to recommend between board members, then they would have to take their decision through a vote, and the majority would prevail. So after the minister has made a decision, there is a form, prison form number 44, that the minister will issue to the commissioner endorsing his decision to release the offender on parole. Then within 15 days of the commissioner receiving this order, the commissioner has to ensure that the offender is released. The commissioner, in effecting the release, would then transmit the order to the officer in charge of the facility where the offender is held. Then the officer in charge would issue a certificate, prison form number 44A, to the parolee, and then execute the release. Then the person is free to go back into the community. There are conditions. The first condition is that the person will be under our supervision. So once in a while, the officer in charge has to go and check on this person, hear from the community leader. Of course, we work with community leaders when it comes to reintegration. So it's automatic that they are also assisting in supervising this person. Because any breach, they would, even before we check on them, they would report to our secretariat that this person is misbehaving. And then they have to reside at that address that has been agreed upon. And if there are any changes, then they have to be given authority before they can change. And they have to be of good conduct and good behavior. The parole certificate is their passport. If they are required to do so by any prison officer, peace officer, police officer, they have to do so. Otherwise, they will be breaching their release conditions. These are statistics for our releases. Between 2008 and 2021, we have submitted 299 applications to the board, and they have released 125 and rejected 174. But you may find those 174, they are also part of the 125, but they would have been positively considered in subsequent years. And then between 2023 and 2024, the board was not busy. They only considered 13 applications, and they released 4, and these 4 are still serving on parole. And of those who were released in 2023-24, 7 are still on parole. And then for those released before 2021, 4 are still serving parole. And then the board's last sitting was from the 10th to the 11th of September 2024. There were 17 applications. They have recommended 7 and rejected 10. And these 7 are still before the minister. We are yet to receive feedback on his decision. Earlier on, I talked about extramural labor. And just between October and November, the commissioner has released 35 offenders on extramural labor. I didn't include challenges and recommendations, but just to share, resources will always be a challenge. Our program officers are responsible for correcting, are responsible for preparing the dossiers, are the secretariat for our community-based reintegration committees. They are also responsible for supervising these offenders in the community. So they are multitasking, and it's a very tall order. But we have to make it happen. Maybe that also explains the few number of dossiers that are submitted to the board. And one thing that also, impacts on the amount of work that we submit before the board is the issue of reconciliation, offender-victim reconciliation. But we have now acquired some technology, video visitation technology. We don't have to have our program officers leaving their offices and traveling long distances. You all know how Botswana is big, how big Botswana is. Sometimes you have to travel for 2 days to go and meet with the victim. So we have video conferencing equipment in all our facilities that we use for visits. So they utilize these facilities for effecting offender-victim reconciliation. If the offender is in Gaborone, the victim is in Gantsi, then the victim would go to Gantsi prison. The offender will then be talking to...
Come back. We are still at Zimbabwe Prisons and Correctional Services Parole and Reintegration Conference. We are going to be speaking to a couple of inmates, and they're going to tell us their understanding of this parole conference. They are also going to tell us about the empowerment initiatives that are happening where they are based, the prisons that they are in. I'm joined here by Brian Chiwandandevo. Hi, Brian. How are you?
I'm good, and how are you?
I'm very well. So just tell us, why are you in prison? Why are you incarcerated?
Okay, the reason I'm incarcerated is I commit a crime of rape, and I've been incarcerated for 3 years now. Yeah.
All right, so back to the parole conference.
Yes.
Which is actually going to assist to cut your sentence.
Yes.
If it goes well.
Yeah.
What do you understand by parole?
By parole, I understand that is when a certain inmate is released pertaining some conditions, like, for example, good behavior. Then he's released to finish his sentence in the community. So I heard there's 2 types of parole. There's the full parole and the day parole. The day parole is when the inmate is allowed to go into the community at the day, but at the night is sent back to the prison just to sleep there. And then the full parole, this is when the inmate is already at home doing what he can do there. So that's what I can understand about the parole system.
And how are you feeling about it?
Yeah, it's really good. It gives us the freedom that we want.
And the hope.
And the hope, yes.
All right. How is the message filtering to the prisons? Are the inmates that are there, which are here, there are about 26,000 of them, do they have access to this information?
Yeah. we have access to this information through radios and TVs, because there are already radios and TVs in the prison. So we'll be listening to the news, the daily bulletin, and seeing the news on the TV, which will give us the information, the hope that this thing is going to work for us and this thing is going to give us freedom in this world.
Thank you very much. I love the part of hope, and I love that you are smiling about the freedom that's ahead of you.
Yeah.
So let's just speak about empowerment projects. We are seeing quite a number of things that are doing, the initiatives that you are doing in prisons, empowerment projects. Let's speak about some of the ways.
Okay. The artifacts that you're seeing here, they are made from sads and card boxes.
Sadza
and card boxes. One can imagine that this elephant is made from sadza. So actually, what we do is we scout for leftover sadza and then look for card boxes. We rip the card boxes and wait for the sadza to dry, because we need it to be crunchy, so that we can grind it and turn it into powder, so that it can be easy for us to mix with small pieces of card boxes. So we mix those ingredients, the mealie meal and the card boxes, until it's molten, so that one can mold, like the one who molds clay pots, the type. So
like dagger.
Yeah, like dagger. So you start sculpting it from the head to the body. So if it's like this, it will be finished. But when it's not finished, you won't
even recognize it.
You don't even recognize it's going to be an elephant. It's going to be anything, just because it will be not beautiful as what it looks like.
That's quite creative. Who taught you this?
When I went to prison, I saw other people doing it. So there were other people who were already doing it. So I was shocked, and I wanted to learn more about doing these things.
So it means that in the prisons, there are people that are empowering you, that are teaching you to do those things.
Yes.
So what do you intend to use this after, if you get parole or after you're out of prison? How do you intend to make use of this? Are you selling already in prison, or you intend to sell after you?
We're already selling this.
Okay.
We're already selling this just because the income that we get is useful to us in prison. For we need toiletries, we need food, we need some things. So once I make something like this, then I know that I'm getting something like income in order to provide toiletries, to provide the basic things which I need as a person. So when I go outside, I'm going to teach others how to make these things. For there are people who doesn't know how to make these things, and which can be helpful to them. So I'm going to teach them and tell them that these things can make a future for you, and these things can make a bright future for you.
So there you have at Zimbabwe. We have Brian here. He is the one who made these words and more. They are selling them already in prison. But after serving their tenure, they are going to be making this. They are going to be teaching others to make this. This is empowerment that is happening in Zimbabwe and prisons and correctional services. And what we are saying is, with this parole conference, they are empowering inmates. They are empowering prisoners so that they're able to be self-sustainable after serving their terms. They're also able to empower the communities that they're going to be in. What we are saying to Zimbabweans is they are going to be released to communities through this parole. Accept them. They are already empowered enough to make a living for themselves and even to empower their communities. Thank you very much, Brian. Do you have any parting words?
Yeah, the only parting words I have is for the youth, which are either abusing drugs in the outside world. And so we are seeing some of them coming to prison just because they are abusing drugs. So I want to tell them that drugs is not the answer. Stay away from drugs and stay away from crime, because drugs and crime doesn't pay. That's the only words I can say to the youth.
Stay away from drugs. Stay away from crime. This is Brian.
Yes.
He is saying it from experience, so listen to him.
Of the challenges to do with resources. And these are factors which we should consider when looking at our own individual perspectives. I would like to thank you once again for a very rich presentation, and may we give her another round of applause. At this juncture, allow me to deviate slightly from our program and to go into a question and answer session for the two presentations which are before us. We will be taking questions until the coffee break at 10:30. Thereafter, we will receive our third presentation from Dr. Jabangwe straight after the coffee break. Do we have a roving mic for questions? Thank you. We've got a question. I acknowledge you. I acknowledge the lady in green and the gentleman.
Okay. Bom dia.
Good morning. My name is Manuel Kundi.
Especial de Angola.
How do I work it? Come. Haiti.
Okay.
If you could give me a second. I'm pressing 1. IT, could you assist? Thank you. You may proceed.
Ok, obrigado. Bom dia.
I'm Manuel Cunha, the director of the Rehabilitation Center. My question is to our Namibian commissioner. She said about the competency of those who have the authority to release. She talked about the minister and other entities. I wanted to understand, since we are here to exchange our knowledge,
Quais são?
What are the competencies of the minister? What are the duties of the Director General and other members of the body for the sentence?
Very much. I think I need to clarify something. There might have been a misunderstanding. The first issue is to say that when I refer to the aspect of competency, it was especially with regards to the officers on the ground that conduct that deliver the rehabilitation programs, that conduct the risk assessments, not the competencies of the ministers or other release-making authorities. In terms of the competencies of the program officers, for example, and the case management officers and the members of the National Release Board that Namibia has, we make sure that our officers have backgrounds either in psychology, clinical psychology, social work, or criminal justice. And then we train them further ourselves. Those are the individuals that I was making reference to when I said we want them to have the relevant competencies, not so much the release decision-making authorities. Thank you.
Director, you answered?
Pois, a minha preocupação.
My worry, it might be, there is maybe a misunderstanding in terminology, but then I understood that let's talk about the decision taking, that the President of the Republic can also be part of the decision making. I also understood that the narrator as well can do so. what I would like to understand, what is the sentence, what is the decision, if the competence is only for the president or also to the minister and also the other general directors.
Rosemary muchagonei vanova vamwe mumwe wevasungwa vari mujere makadisise Rosemary?
Tiri pedu makadivo.
Tiri pedu. Sei muri mujere makapinda sei?
Mujere ndakapinda nemhosva ye-I4.
Alright. Asi todzokera kunyaya yeconference inoi. Munonzwisisei pamusoro peparole?
Parole tainzwisisa kuti unenge wakasungwa saizvozvo handiti, asi unoregererwa uenda unopedzesera chirango chako uri kumba, asi uchimonitwa neprisons kunzi uri kushanda sei, wakagara sei, saka chirango chako unochipedzera kumba.
Munofungei pamusoro pazvo? Munofila sei pamusoro pechirongwa chakadai? Munonzwa sei?
Kutanga ndinoda kutenda zvikuru ZPCS nekunza chirongwa cheparole. Zvinofadza munhu pamwe nemakore akawandisa seatinawai wonzi chienda unopedzesera kumba. Zvinhu zvinofadza zvekuti joyi yacho haungainzwisise, inopinda mukati memwoyo kuti chokwadi ndaregererwa, ndakunopedzesera chirango kumba. Aiwa, tinozvitenda zvikuru.
Asi munonzwisisa kuti parole ine maconditions ayo?
Yes, parole ine maconditions ayo.
Akafanana nechi?
Akafanana ne-good behavior.
Tinotenda zvikuru. Saka ndanzwisisa kuti muri kunzwisisa chirongwa, kureva kuti information, mashoko ari kufamba zvakanaka mujere, ari kusvika sei mashoko eparole kune vasungwa vese?
Kune vasungwa vese mashoko eparole tinonzwa through our rehab officers, even munews tinozvinzwa.
Kureva kuti mese muri kuziva zviri kuitika.
Hongu tese
tinotenda zvikuru Zimbabwe Prisons and Correctional Services nekufambisa mashoko zvakanaka. Saka sisi Rosemary, chitiudzai, kana muri imomo mujere tinoona munenge munodzidziswa zvakawanda zvemubato yemaoko. Taurai pamusoro pezvemubato yemaoko yamuri kuitai.
Tiri pachikurubi female prison through our rehab tinodzidziswa senikeseni. Ndakaenda kuchikoro che-cutting and design.
Muri mujere?
Yes, ndiri mujere. Ndine diploma certificate rangu.
Wow.
Yes. Zvakawanda zvinoitwa. Ndakapinda mujere ndisingatomboziva chinonzi kusona.
Wow.
Ende handambobvira ndakazvifungira kuti ndichasona kana kuzvirota kwete. Asi nekuona vamwe vachiitawo ndakati chirega ndichipindawo mazviri ndione kuti zvinoita sei. At first ndaitombotya kuti zvino ndinozvigona here, but tinotenda zvakawanda zvatodzidziswa kunamata, tinodzidziswa futi. Vanoda kuenda kuchikoro vanoenda, vanhu vanotonyora ma-O levels avo arimo, ma-A level ari kutonyorwa. Tirimo muchikurubi female prison imomo.
Saka taurai nyaya yehembe dzamakabata idzi.
Hembe dzandakabata idzi, as you can see, i2-piece costume inoita kune vaye vemaroro vaye vari kuda kuroorwa kana vari kunochata. Tiri kuzvisona tiri pachikurubi female prison. Masheds evarume tiri kudhizaina tega, hatiite zvemapattern. Tinotoita kudhiraftira pajira ipapo sevanhu vane experience. Mahats aya futi tinogadzira, as you can see, ma-t-shirt ejira raamai tiri kuita futi. Yes, national fabric. Tiri kuita tiri muno nema-detergents as you can see, nemasutu evarume emaroro tinoita futi. Zvese tinosona tirimo. Tongoti clothing yese tinoita tiri pachikurubi female prison.
Vanonzi sisi Rosemary muchagonei, muri kuona confidence yavanayo. Vari kuti vakapinda muchikurubi female prison vasingagone kusona. Vanoti vakadzidziswa kutanga cutting and designing, kubata chitupa vari mujere. Manzwa kuti vari kuti kune vanotonyora ma-O levels vari imomo, kune vanodzidza zvese zvavanoda kudzidza vari imomo. Kureva kuti Zimbabwe Prisons and Correctional Services vane ma-empowerment projects akawanda ekuti kana vasungwa vazodzokera kusociety community havanoite zvakare mhosva havanopare mhosva. Saka tinokutendai vanoronga zvirongwa zvakanaka kudai kuZimbabwe Prisons and Correctional Services. Tiri kuti sisi Rosemary, kana mukapiwa tomboti mapiwa mukana wekuenda kunopedzesera sentensi yenyu kumba neicho chirongwa cheparole ichi, chii chamunopromisa kucommunity yamunogara, chamunovapromisa kuti vasakutyai, kuti vazive kuti aiwa muri munhu akashanduka?
Inini zvandichanoita kana ndasvika kucommunity yekwangu, vanhu vachatanga kuona mabasa emaoko andakadzidza ekusona nekugadzira madetergents, uye ndichavhura chikoro changu chekudzidzisa vanhu kusona nekuti experience ndaanayo yakanyanyisa.
Tinotenda. Thank you very much, Sister Rosemary Muchagonei. Gadzirirai vanobva kururwa rwaSister Rosemary. Hanzi chikoro chakuzovhurwa chekusona. Gadzirirai kudzidziswa. Muri kuona kuti vanosona zvemhando yepamusoro. Saka gadzirirai chikoro kureva kuti pavanouya kuma-communities kwavakabva vanova vari vasungwa izvezvi vagamuchirei. Shandai navo. Nokuti muri kunyatsoona vari kudzidza zvakawanda, vachatokudzidzisaiwo zvakawanda. Thank you.
Once every month, and then of course through our community reintegration committees, they are under the care of the village or community head all the time. So if anything happens, then even before the supervisor, the supervising officer visits, we can have that information to say there is an issue here that maybe we need to attend to or to sanction the offender. And then when it comes to use of technology, we don't have a tracking technology as yet, but that is something that we are also working towards so that we can reduce our workload, because the technology will do it for us instead of having to make calls or make physical visits. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that response. There was another hand up, middle row, and then we'll go to the third row.
24 past.
Very much.
Could you raise your hand up high so they see you? We've got 3 questions. I'll take 3 questions and then we can break for tea. Those that don't get to ask your questions in this session, we will have a follow-up discussion after the second session. So keep your questions. Roving Mike, are we aligned?
Okay, thank you very much. I'm Superintendent Tandani Ndlovu, Staff Officer responsible for rehabilitation and reintegration in Midlands Province. First of all, I would like to thank both presenters from Namibia and Botswana for their informative presentations. My question goes to Botswana on the issue of dossier preparation and compilation, where she stated that the officer in charge is responsible for that compilation and preparation of the dossier to be submitted to the parole board. What I'm made to understand is that the parole system is a process from the presentations that have been presented so far. It's a process of which that parole system rides on what DCG Mariana Martins of Namibia stated, that there is need to be competence on officers on the ground. Now, I believe that this process starts probably upon admission to prepare this particular inmate or individual for his or her successful reintegration through the parole system. And I understand that the reintegration process have various stages, starting from the pre-release plan and the actual release and the after-release plan that maybe can be used by the parole officers to monitor and to supervise the parolees. Now, if the dossier preparation is prepared by the officers in charge, are they preparing these dossiers themselves, or is done by station rehabilitation and reintegration officers who then submit to the officer in charge to countersign those dossiers with the detailed information as per the guidance of the rehabilitation or reintegration officer on the ground?
Thank you. Before you respond, DCG, can we just take the 2 remaining questions, and I think we can break for tea, and we'll give you time to think about the questions and address them when we get back. There was a second question. 10:30. You can speak, just switch your mic on.
Okay, thank you very much. My name is Superintendent Ngoya Mtuke. I am the Staff Officer, Rehabilitation and Reintegration, Harare Metropolitan Province. My question goes to the second presenter from Botswana. I have yet to mention the processes that one is to undergo in order to be considered to qualify for the parole system. And I have noticed that in the hierarchy, the
Zimbabwe Prisons and Correctional Service Parole and Reintegration Conference. Ngihlanganeke labo singaye abe parole ngilo Gladys Sibanda namhlanje kwana kasichasisele ukubana yena ke iparole ngwini akuzwisisayo ngayo anjalo ukuthi uyayithakazelela yini akumbubona ngani izaqhubekela akanjani. Gladys Sibanda unjani namhlanje?
Hayi mina ngiyaphila linjani?
Ungabe ngeleli mu leZimbabwe yazi sibizo akanye lokubana ke ejele ungene nini icala lingelani njalo uphuma nini?
Salibonani sapho leZimbabwe, mina ibizo lami nguGladys Sibanda. Ejele ngingene ngo-2017, icala lami lingelemede.
Ukhangelela ukuphuma nini?
Khangele ukuphuma ngo-2031.
2031
mhla 7 October
2031 ilanga ke umama uGladys Sibanda akhangelela ukubana ke uzaphuma khona engene ke ejele ngecala ke lemeda. Mam Gladys, ungasichasisela ukubana ke ukuphila kumbe ukuhlala kwakho ejele ukungena kwakho ejele kuguqule njani njalo ikuphi ke okufundileyo lokhu ngena ejele mbona ke kulezinto ke esiphambi kwetafula lapha ezibukisa ke imisebenzi etshiyeneyo?
Hayi mina ukuphuma ukungena kwami ejele since ngingena ejele ngangena lami ngingumuntu engazi lutho ngisesaba ukuthi kambe ejele ngizaphila njani kodwa ngithe ngifika ejele ngathola kule rehab efundisayo umsebenzi yezandla ngase ngifunda ukuthunga ukweluka izikhwama sengifunda ama scrunch ukwenza icrochet ama keyorders lamashambelo okufaka ezandleni lokuthunga ekuthungeni lapha singayenza i-certificate yekuthunga le degree lokuthunga ukuthi imisebenzi ezandleni minengi imisebenzi esengiyifundile kodwa ngisejele ngiphandle ngangalanda abalakho ngingumuntu ophongwenza izinto ezingaluzi kodwa akathesi sengifunde imisebenzi eminingi ngisejele through irehab yejele.
Sibonge Mam Gladys, ukhuluma ngendaba zokuthunga lokuthi uphandle ubungelanda abalakho ukuthi ukuthunga konke lokhu izibukiso lezi eziphambi kwethu ukufunde usuphakathi okumbo kunye ubuvela ukwazi.
Bengilalo ulwazi kancane kodwa ukujikamisa ingqondo zami ukuthi ngijule sibili ekuthungeni ngifunde sensejele ngerehab yejele.
Asikhona pha ke HICC Grace Sibanda sikhuluma ke ngendaba zeparole. Ungasichasela ukuthi wena uzwisisani kumbe ikuphi okwaziyo ngendaba ke yeparole?
Parole engikuzwisisayo ngizwisisa ukuthi iparole luhlelo oluzileyo oluzosiza thina esisemajele ukuthi uyakhitshwa isigwebo sosebe singakapheli kodwa uyakhitshwa phandle uhambe endlini yakho uyabusa endlini uhlala usendlini babe uyama-officers bezokumonitha bezokhangela ukuthi uhlezi kuhle yini labo makhelwane sokusiba leyinye ethi kuthi uzabe uhamba ngikhaya uyetshona ngikhaya ubusuphenduka uzolala ejele kuseni uvuka useyakhona le kodwa usuphenduka bebuya bezokumonitha ngenxa ye-good behavior bebuza ukuthi uhlezi njani labo makhelwane bebatshela.
Siyabonga mama. Into engiyithakazelele ukubana uthe wena iParole ibenefita ikakhulu lina abasemajele. Kukhona ke umlaleli ongabe elalele khonapho osesesaba ukuthi bakithi sebebuya labana futhi omama kumbe obaba labana sebebuya abasonelayo. Yikuphi ongakuthembisa abangekhaya kumbe sithi kubajikamisa ingqondo bengaze bechaya luvalo ongabacela khona ukuthi belalele nje imuli yeZimbabwe bachazela ukuthi ukubuya kwenu asikuphambanisa ukuhlala kwabo njalo uhamba njani?
Hayi thina ukuphuma kwami mina siyaphandle ngokuphuma kwethu sisiyaphandle sesitshintshile ubuntu esasiyibo bona sisesephandle ngenxa ye through umsebenzi yezandla yona leyi ngoba singakwanisa ukuthi siphume phandle siyakwanisa ukufika sifundisa abanye sibatshengisa ukuthi thina imisebenzi yezandla sesifunde lokhu sesifunde lalokhu lathi sibafundisa bengasesabi ayiwa sesitshintshile thina sesingabantu abaright asebekwanisa ukuzisebenzela nande certificate le degree le diploma lami engalenzayo ngisejele.
Ayi siyabonga ke Moile Zimbabwe lazwela ke uGrace uGladys Sibanda esikhulumela mathupha echasisa ukubana ke iParole kuyini bona ke njengabantu abasentulongweni bafundeni njalo bazaphilisana lani njani nxa sebephumile. Gladys kulento emfisa ukuyizwa akuwe ukubana ke uphakathi lapha ejele bayabuya yini ukuzokubona isihlobo ezingaphandle njalo yipi inkuthazo ongayinika abantu abakhangele elona lelu hlelo namhlanje?
Mina isihlobo since ngangena 2017 luhlelo kade sengikhohlwe mina lo ngangena 2017 akula muntu ngitsho lo yedwa owake wanlandela isihlobo sami bayafonelwa ngihamba erehab cela ndimfonelele bafonelwe ngabe fonelwa bathi siyabuya kodwa ababuyi kodwa ngiloke ngiphila umuntu ophilayo loke ngisifale good behavior ngitshelwa ngama-officers ngisenza ngilandela ngisenza konke kuze kufike namhlanje angaze ngigule angaze ngithini ngisihlalele nje.
Ayi siyabonga Moile Zimbabwe besixoxisana ke lo Gladys Sibanda esichasisela ukubana ke iParole nguyini watsho njalo ukubana ke iParole ibonefita bona ke njengama inmates njalo uyathembisa ukubana ngazo zonke izifundo asebezifundile ke bephakathi ke kwentolongo eZimbabwe Prisons and Correctional Service through ama rehabilitation activities achiyene ngabantu asebeguqukile ngabantu abathembisa ukubana ukuphuma kwabo ngeParole ababuyi ukuzophazamisa indlela elihlezi ngayo njengabantu kasebe empowered ngama skills achiyene. Siyalinxusa asiyalikhuthaza ke Moile Zimbabwe ukubana nxa sebephuma asibamukele nini ukubana ke iprogram reintegration ukuphenduka kwabo ke bevela ke entolongweni kube lula njalo bengazibawona njalo lami igama ke nguprincipal correctional officer sibonakele Precious Ndanga ngikhona pha ke HICC eJacaranda Rooms.
correctional officer in the Zimbabwe Prisons and Correctional Services, and he is responsible for rehabilitation and reintegration. Mr. Isondor, how are you?
I'm great, and you?
So we have seen the prisoners, the inmates, the ways they have shown us, the work that they are doing in prison, which is part of rehabilitation.
Yes.
Just comment about the ways your team showed us just now.
Okay, so this is just part of the work that they do in terms of skills training, in terms of art and craft, performing art, creative art, and so on. So they use this as part of art therapy, where they, it's a process of catharsis, where they get to express their emotions through creative art.
Oh, by the way, you are a psychologist, so already art therapy is speaking to you being a psychologist.
Yeah, that is it. So that's how they express their emotions, and also at the same time monetizing those emotions through creative art. And it's unfortunately that in this particular environment they cannot be doing performing art due to the restrictive space. But we have others that are into music, others that are into sporting, and a whole lot of activities that they do. So right now what you saw there, you saw creative art. The Commissioner General actually established a shop for us, so he's very supportive in terms of promoting this art and craft. If you go to Trababala's roundabout, there's People's Market there. We actually have a shop where some of these wares are being sold. And people that are interested can actually buy online. They can approach the Public Relations Department through their Facebook page. They can actually call the numbers that are shown on their screens, and they can actually visit our offices as well. We have a marketing department that's responsible for marketing these ways.
Wow.
And a large chunk of the money that is generated from those activities goes to the inmate's pocket, so that upon release they can actually be sustained. They can actually manage to sustain their livelihoods on their own. So this is just a component of a broad spectrum of the rehabilitation activities that we do.
So I love the part that they express their emotions through that.
Yeah, exactly.
As much as they gain commercially as well. Yeah. So it is two-pronged. Yeah. Well done. So back to the parole business. What is the role of rehabilitation in parole?
Okay, so essentially parole is a system where inmates are conditionally released back into society. And that release is on the basis of assessed behavior. So we cannot talk about assessing behavior without considering the rehabilitation activities that were done. So rehabilitation officers are responsible for recruiting these inmates into various rehabilitation programs. Some programs are aimed at addressing the underlying causes of criminal behavior. Some are aimed at equipping them with social skills so that they can adapt. For instance, with inmates that committed violent offenses, some have problems with emotional regulation. They can easily get triggered. They are prone to perpetrating, violent offenses upon others. So those go through anger management. Some go through various types of therapies with various treatment programs for sexual offenders, for instance, at Arrest Central Prison. And so if these inmates are enrolled in these particular programs, by the time that they qualify to apply for parole, a rehabilitation officer is actually supposed to contribute towards the application of that particular individual by providing a comprehensive report that clearly
shows the journey.
Shows the journey that the particular individual has gone through in terms of rehabilitation. So that plays a pivotal role in terms of determining the eligibility of that particular individual to enroll as a potential parolee and for conditional release. So rehabilitation is very key and essential, and also in terms of preparing the environment to which the individual is going. Both prior to their release, we actually have to engage the family, engage the significant others, also engage whoever is responsible for their upkeep or maybe the people that they relate to. Look at things like their housing, accommodation, their welfare, how they're going to sustain their livelihoods. Are there people that are willing to support? Is it the family or is it other stakeholders out there in the community? So we come up with a comprehensive, assessment that will then show the risk level of that particular individual to either default on the parole or maybe comply with the provisions of parole.
So somebody who was really watching, I believe they have now understood the processes, because I think the greatest fear around parole is somebody would go back to the community and commit the same offenses or even more or even worse offenses. So we have been told here the process is vigorous. It actually involves a rehabilitation officer, and that rehabilitation officer walks a journey with an offender, which that journey they will write a report on how that offender has been performing throughout their time in incarceration. So I think that is comprehensive enough for to alleviate or to allay rather the fears that communities have around this parole issue. Maybe let's just speak about the benefits of parole to the offender.
Okay, so the benefits of the parole to the offender is that this is, systematic sensitization to reality. Because when you live in confinement, like when you're living in prison, that's, of course, that's a microcosm of society, but it's also a subculture on its own. They are restricted from so many other things. They're also not able to exercise some of their rights, or they lost some of their rights when they got arrested. But then when you gradually reintegrate back into society through parole, you are learning to adapt in a systematic, manner. You're learning to adjust, adjusting to the work ethic of society, adjusting to the norms, the values of society, living up to the expectations of society, and also demonstrating to the society that you have atoned for whatever intransigencies that you committed. And also, seeking solace, building relationships, building bridges, essentially, and also, getting the support that you need. By the time that your parole is over, you would have well adjusted to
in terms of integration.
Yes, you've well adjusted to society and basic, normal social life. And if meeting challenges during your parole, you also still have a supportive system that is always there to, give you the necessary leverage for you to navigate without any challenges. You have the social workers, you have the parole officers, you have, because it's a multidisciplinary team that's going to be working with the parolee.
So they actually follow the parolees to the societies.
They actually follow through to monitor if there are any challenges that the individual is facing. And if it warrants that, you go back to prison, maybe to learn one or two skills, to be rehabilitated in certain concepts. Recommendations can actually be made that you go back to prison. But chances are that most of the people that are going to be enrolled for parole are going to succeed because of the vigorous, selection criteria that's going to be used.
Thank you very much. So in terms of the benefits to ZPCS, what are the benefits to Zimbabwe Prisons and Correctional Services of this whole parole system?
Okay, so apart from equipping the individual with reintegration skills that I've mentioned, like the systematic reintegration, it also decongests the correctional facilities. Because there's a concept that we call behavioral sink. Behavioral sink happens when there are lots of people within a very restricted confinement. People tend to lose their personal space, and then you encroach into the space of someone else. And then through that process, you desocialize. You tend to lose your humanity. And then to the outside world, you become sort of, abnormal. Because you are adapting to the situation that you find yourself in, but that's not quite the same with the situation that you're going to find yourself when you go out of it.
You're speaking like a psychologist, you are. I hope the viewers can follow.
Yeah, I'm sure they will. Because these are the things that happen every day.
Yeah.
Yes. If you go to a place that's highly concentrated, that is a high population within some few square meters, you find that violence might erupt, people can steal things from each other. Generally, people do not relate well.
Yeah.
But if people have, if the density reduces, it becomes even better. Not even talking about the resources that they're supposed to share. So,
which are generally scarce.
Yes, you see what I mean. So to the institution, it's quite an advantage, reintegrating people. It doesn't mean that they are no longer inmates. They're still inmates. They're still under the supervision and custodianship of ZPCS. But now, they are now completing their sentences outside. There's still our obligation. as such. So apart from decongestion, it also works as a positive role modeling to those that are still inside. Because they all inspire to be parolees at some point. And I know that for me to become a parolee,
I should behave well.
I should behave well. I have to engage in rehabilitation programs that are meaningful, that are impactful as well. And I also have to, successfully complete my portion of the sentence before I apply for parole. So that's multi-pronged in terms of.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
I actually got the part that you said those that are going to be watching, those that would have benefited,
Yes.
they emulate them, they want to be like them.
Yes.
So they are going to behave in a manner that's acceptable.
Exactly.
They are going to engage in rehabilitation programs.
Yes.
They're going to do the expected and the needful for them to qualify.
Yes.
So that
and
makes
also,
sense.
And also a very exciting, concept that's related to that. The Commissioner General actually assigned us to establish what we call desistance champions. These are people that have completed their sentences, they are already in society. Some are into business, some are entrepreneurs, some are into farming, and so on and so forth. These are going to come back as mentors. Providing mentorship services to those that are still serving their sentences in prison. So these are much better than you and I, because you and I have never served in prison. So we don't have the exact lived experience of someone that's been in prison. So these are the guys that have walked the journey, that have transitioned into society. They know they've gone through all the steps. And when they come back to provide mentorship services, it will be, more valid.
Indeed.
And the inmates that are in there will appreciate it even more. So it's all about modeling. So that's the same concept that's going to apply to the parole system.
Well done. Great work indeed.
Yes.
So let's speak about the benefits to the society. Because I'm thinking the society needs really to understand that this is also good for them. What are the benefits of this parole system to the society?
Okay, so for starters, these inmates, these people that we call inmates, they come from society.
Indeed.
And they committed offenses due to various causes, some of which might have actually been societally induced. Like you coming from broken families, you're coming from a neighborhood with very few opportunities for you to prosper, and things like that. And then in the end, you go to prison. And then when they go to prison, society must also remember that they are the ones that are looking after these people, because this is taxpayers' money. And when you save money in prisons, you're saving your money as a member of society. Your tax is maybe going to work better, providing healthcare services, providing education, building infrastructure for the country, than it is going to, work looking after people that are in prison. So it's better for society, for ZPCs in general, for the individuals involved, for people to go onto parole, where they can actually become productive members of society while they're on parole. Because when people are on parole, they're actually allowed to, engage in economic activities under supervision, as may be provided by the law. So they actually contribute to society meaningfully, to the economy, and so society is also, set to benefit from parole in a much, much, much bigger way. And those people that maybe that experienced victimhood due to crime, their voice is actually, needed when determining whether someone qualifies for parole or does not qualify for parole. So if someone was maybe beaten up, maybe it was a violent offense, the victim impact statement actually comes in hand when it comes to determining the eligibility of that particular perpetrator to qualify for parole or not. So restorative justice is also a component of the parole system, because here we try to build bridges between the offender and the offended prior to the process of parole for that particular individual who's concerned.
We are still with the society. Somebody, they haven't gotten the part that you have explained already. They are thinking, is it not rewarding crime? Okay. Are you not saying guys that have committed crime, they are released before they are sentenced, you are rewarding them for crime? Okay. I know this is really a tough issue even to societies that have these offenders that are still even itchy because of their crimes, the crimes they committed.
Okay, so that's a moralistic view. That's a moralistic standpoint of or a thought process. Because we think that someone does bad, they must be punished, they must go to prison. And some would even want them to be sentenced to death.
Indeed.
And some would even want them to be sentenced for life. But that's not practically impossible. I mean, that's not practically possible. Because at the end of the day, if you look at people in here and investigations are done, maybe a quarter of us might end up in prison today. It's just
So that statement is very funny, but it's true.
Yeah, it's just that people out there have not been, caught and everything. But when people go to prison, they're not going there to be punished. They're going there as punishment. And punishment in the sense that they lose some of the rights that they enjoy when they're outside. But when they go there, we seek to rehabilitate, to capacitate them so that they become functional members of society. And you can only test their functionality by observing them while they are still on parole. Whether they qualify or not, if they don't qualify, they go back to prison. If they qualify, they complete their sentences as what? As parolees. So society should be supportive.
Yeah.
And in fact, from the sentiments that I've heard, across the broad spectrum of society, people are supportive of parole. And thanks a lot to the government for, making it happen. Because this is progressive, and it also speaks to the commitment of ZPCS and the government of Zimbabwe to upholding the human rights of people in this country.
So, Mr. Ndoro, as we are closing, how are you going to be dealing with the stigmas that are associated with this parole? Because as they go back to the societies and to the society and to the communities, this is a point, and a point that we cannot run away from. People will look at them like, this is a rapist, this is a murderer, this is a... So they will still have that labeling.
Yeah, I understand.
How are you going to be dealing with that stigma? Because my greatest fear is after that stigmatization, somebody will re-offend and re-incarcerated.
Okay, so like I pointed out when we started this conversation, this is a collective responsibility. It's not only a ZPCS responsibility, not only a Minister of Justice responsibility, but it's a collective responsibility for the entire society of Zimbabwe and even beyond. So in terms of stigma, for us to reduce stigma, we have to ensure that people are involved actively in the entire process, right from the selection of parolees, monitoring of parolees, supervising parolees. That's why we're going to have boards that are going to be responsible, and these are constituted by people from society. And traditional leadership is also going to be involved. Civic society is also going to be involved. And also thanks to the media for, getting the information out there. Or someone who didn't know about Parole right now is now much aware of what it is. And they still have questions, they might still keep on researching. And we have a very vibrant public relations section that will actually entertain these questions. And through their Facebook page, even personally, people can still come, to get a better understanding. And then the people are also going to be involved in terms of the victim impact statement that I pointed out. And it also, has a lot of gravity in terms of determining whether someone, qualifies for parole or doesn't qualify for parole. So that way, I think community involvement is essential in terms of reducing stigma.
There you have it, Zimbabwe. This was Chief Correctional Officer, Mr. Ison Ndoro, taking us through the rehabilitation process. He is saying, an inmate is just not released back to the society without going through the processes that need to be gone through. They go through the processes, the rehabilitation processes, where they take the processes to a level that is satisfactory enough to release an inmate to the society. They are not a danger to you as they come to the society. They need your support, because if they are not supported enough, they will re-offend. So it's us Zimbabweans, you and me, taking back our relatives into communities, embracing them and loving them, and making sure that they don't offend again. Your parting words, Mr. Ndoro.
Thank you so much. So society, I'll just say that we are in this together. We started it together. We will end it together. These are parolees coming from society. They will go back to society, and it's our collective responsibility to be monitoring and supervising them so that they become law-abiding and productive citizens of this beautiful country. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ndoro.